Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. So today is a day we start getting on with this black BMW E60. I know many of you have been seeing me talk about getting on with this, but today we're gonna start getting on with it. Now, this one video, I am gonna break down in sequences purely because the last time I did this, I had a lot of questions on if this applies to all of the BMW 60s and all the engines, and that was just simply not the case. So I thought, let me break this video down, especially this one, redo it so people don't get it mixed up and people don't think they have to do it on their car just because they see me do it on this car. So let's get on to the video, and I'm going to be showing you how to flush your power steering fluid and how to change the reservoir, because this one is completely knackered. We need to get it off and get the new one on.
Goddamn, get it done, will ya? Woo. When the blow up now, everybody's so unusual with it. Shit. But said times in his rhymes, cause his memories. We running through New York, so you know.
Okay guys, so as you can see here, this is the power steering reservoir, and if you can see, it's all black around the cap, just like the one I changed on the 6 Series. It was completely deteriorated, been on a car since, you know, new and never been changed. Obviously, the fluid may have been changed in its lifetime. I don't know. I haven't got no history of that, but I'm going to be doing it anyway because, as I said to you guys, we're going to be overhauling all of this car, so I am going to be doing that anyway. Now, many people asked me in my last video if this applies to their cars and if it should be done on theirs. I just want to state, if you own a diesel, you will be using normal power steering fluid, and this really won't apply to you using CHF. Obviously, you can flush your power steering fluid if you choose to, but on the M52s, M54s, M53s, they use CHF fluid, where on the diesels they use just normal power steering fluid, and you don't really have to change your reservoir because, you know, they're not that prone to leaking. But obviously if you do have a leak, then obviously do change it. But when I've had mine, I've never really known them to leak, especially on the diesels itself, on the 530Ds and the 535Ds with the M57 engine, because a lot of people do get confused if they should use CHF or they should use power steering fluid. This one uses CHF, as you can see on the lid right there. It's got green, it actually says on it, CHF only fluid, which is central hydraulic fluid. We have got that as well. So we are going to be taking this old reservoir off and putting a new one on, but obviously I need to get the lift up, drain the old fluid out, and then come up to here and get the reservoir out of the car and change it over and fill it back up. Okay guys, so many of you will know from my last video, we're just going to disconnect this power steering lamp right here and let it all drain. Then I'm going to go up to the top of the car, and then what we're going to go ahead and do is start turning the steering wheel left to right to actually flush all the system out completely, so we can get every drop of fluid out of the car. There is another simple way of doing it if many of you guys don't want to actually pull this line, or you don't feel comfortable doing it. You can literally just use the bolt on the steering rack itself and actually just unloosen it and just let it drain out that way, or you can drain it from the power steering pump hose up the top itself. There's many different ways you can do it. I choose to use this way to actually drain the power steering fluid, and I found it's the most easiest way to actually get it all out, and I've never had no issue doing it that way ever before. So this is the pipe we're going to be using just to remove, and obviously it is like a fuel hose, but if you do have fuel clips to actually release it, it will be a lot easier than obviously using your fingers and pressing it in, the tabs in, to push these tabs back so you can take the hose off. Just remember, it can be quite stiff where it's been on there a long time. Majority of the time it does come off easy. Okay guys, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to try and press this hose off. And as you can see there, it's now come off. It is a bit tight to get on and off, and you can just see right there, it's all draining out from the power steering. And what I'll do in a sec is I'll get up on the car and turn the steering left to right to flush out any other fluid in the lines, so we can make sure it's all drained out. So what I'm going to do now, guys, I'm going to get up in the car and turn the steering wheel left to right to flush the remaining liquid out of there. As you can see here, I'm just turning the wheels left to right to get it all out of the lines. So as you can see, now that's drained. Now what we'll do is we'll just clip our hose back on, just like that. Move the drainer down, so we can then just push. And just like that, that's the hose back on. Okay guys, so now what we're gonna do, go ahead and just make sure it's all drained, which it is. It's all completely out. That's the reservoir completely empty. So now what we've got to go ahead and do is get this air box off to be able to just remove the power steering reservoir, disconnect all its associated hoses. We'll just take out all the bolts holding the air filter box on. The mass airflow sensor wire will just unscrew the intake pipe off the airbox. Then we'll just take out this. And now we have full access to the power steering reservoir. So to access the power steering reservoir and remove it completely, what we're gonna have to do here is unbolt these 10mm bolts that hold the reservoir on. You wanna keep your washers as well, just as you take it off. Right, so now that's all done, what you're gonna wanna remember is you're gonna wanna have at least 2 Jubilee clips to replace the ones you're gonna take off here, because these are non-usable ones. When you take off the reservoir, do bear that in mind. You need to have Jubilee clips ready to put them on. Now I do have a whole box of assorted ones, so it's not an issue for me. All I'm gonna do right now is just quickly disconnect these ones, just like that. Take them off, because we're not gonna be reusing them. And you wanna remember what way the hoses go as well, because if you don't, you can end up with a problem. That one's off now. They do come off quite easy, so it's not a problem. The old ones, just disconnect them like that. And just like that, that's the hoses off. And if you can see there, that's the old reservoir off. So now what we're gonna do is just take off that 10mm bolt as well to release the whole reservoir off this bracket so we can put the new one on. So I'm just gonna unloosen that bolt. You can see right there, and I've got power steering fluid leaking everywhere from the old one, which we'll have to clean up in a second. And that's the old one out, and there's your bracket. You don't need to unloosen it too much because it's gonna come out regardless. That's the old one, we're gonna put the new one in. Just need to tidy up all this fluid that's dropped down here. We don't want that lurking around, it's not good. It can also, you know, this kind of fluid can also damage a lot of electrical parts, especially when it's hot. Now what we're just gonna do, just use our Jubilee clips and get the right ones on, just so we're sorted. So this one will fit perfectly on there. We'll just use one here as well. So we've got 2 Jubilee clips on there. Now we have our new male power steering reservoir, which I'm gonna be putting on. You know me guys, I don't put really no cheap parts on the car. What you do is just try and realign all the hoses to remember what way they go. That one in there, and that one in there. Then you bring your Jubilee clips up. You just tighten these Jubilee clips down. Make sure it holds solid in its place. And just like that, that's all done. Now we'll tighten the reservoir itself. Now we'll just get our washers, put them back down, put our 10mm nuts on and tighten them down. Now that's all tightened. Now we'll put our airbox back in, and that's it guys, that's the airbox on. Now obviously we're gonna be using central hydraulic fluid, you can see there, that we're pouring in. So we're just gonna pour that into the power steering reservoir and let it fill. Then we're gonna have to turn the steering lock to lock, so we can make any air come out, any trapped air in the power steering system. So we'll just fill that up. We'll just put the lid on. Just do that. Now, put the ignition on. So you can hear there, I just started the car up, and this car isn't sounding very good, okay? You can see there, it's now just foaming up. I'm gonna have to put more in, which is what I thought, because it took the majority of it down from being flushed. So we'll just start it up again. And there you are, guys. Now the whining stopped, now the fluid's got round. But you can hear this engine is actually missing. It's not running 100%, but I would expect that because this car's been sitting for a very long time. That's what I mean, we have a lot to sort out on this car. A hell of a lot, and it's gonna take us a long time to get it sorted. Now we'll just check the fluid again one more time. And it now seems to be okay. Okay guys, so as you've seen, I've now shown you how to change your central hydraulic fluid, which is your CHF fluid, on your BMW 60 and also the reservoir. Now, as I said, this E60 was way overdue for the reservoir to be changed and the hydraulic fluid. Now, you did hear how noisy the car was actually sounding, which is the power steering pump and everything else. And that's purely because many of you guys have to remember this car's been sitting over a year. So all the fluids had either gone frozen, you know, just broke down completely and deteriorated. And the car hadn't moved, neither had the steering. I think this is the first time I've turned the car steering that much since I actually brought it in here. So that is already overworking the car. We are gonna be going over all this car, and as you could hear, this car already has a misfire that has to be addressed. That's another thing I need to do. There's many different things I need to do on this car, and this is why I did say to you, this car is gonna end up a big, big project, and I'm looking forward to it because I've got a lot of parts over there that need to be done on this black BMW 60. So I hope many of you guys are already enjoying now the content that's going to be coming up. And as I said, the reason I did this video specifically was purely because I got a lot of questions about power steering fluid and CHF fluid. And as I said, if yours doesn't show CSF, check your user manual. And if yours says power steering fluid, then don't use CHF fluid. Because as I said, this doesn't apply to every 60 or E90. So thank you very much for watching, guys. It's BMW Dr. Dean here, and goodbye.